Hey everybody, Ted Wyman with Paul Friesen here at Investors Group Field. A few days ahead of the West semifinal between the Winnipeg-Bluebombers and the Saskatchewan Roughriders. A huge game for this Bomber organization who have lost the last two West semifinals. They lost to BC, they lost to Edmonton, now they get Saskatchewan. Is this the year they can finally do it, Paul?
Putting me right on the spot, right off the bat, eh? Yeah, they can do it, and they should win this game. They've got a better offense than Saskatchewan. Their defense is virtually as good and better in some categories. Mike O'Shea is due to take that next step. His team's got to get over the hump here, or you got to start asking questions again. Why they can't win the big game? So, yeah, I think they've got a shot. And if I was predicting, I don't know if I want to let that cat out of the bag. Don't we leave that for later in the week? But I'd probably predict the Bomber big victory.
A lot of people would say that going on the road is extremely tough, and sure, that is true, but the Bombers actually have been a pretty good road team over the last few seasons with Matt Nichols as their quarterback. And when you look at it on paper, the Bombers do match up very well against the Saskatchewan Roughriders. I think their offense across the board is better than Saskatchewan's offense. There's no question Saskatchewan has an outstanding defense coached by the guru himself, Chris Jones, yeah. But, you know, the Bombers do have some edges, and even on the defensive side, they have some edges. I think their defensive backs are better. You know, the big strength of Saskatchewan is that defensive line with Willie Jefferson and Charleston Hughes. So this is going to be a pretty huge game for a Blue Bombers O-line that actually has 3 All-Stars on it.
You're right, a real test for them, isn't it? I mean, you want to back up your 3 All-Stars now by neutralizing the 2 All-Star defensive ends in Sask. I was just looking at some stats just before we did this, and Winnipeg is number 2 in the league behind Calgary in points allowed by defense. They're not as good in yardage, so they're more of a bend but don't break kind of defense, and Saskatchewan is number 1 in yardage. So it's hard to pick between those. Winnipeg has forced more turnovers, believe it or not. Saskatchewan has scored on a bundle. Is it 11 defensive touchdowns?
Right.
Incredible. So, in a nutshell, you want to boil this game down to one stat: turnovers.
It does come down to that, and that's when you look at the season series between the two teams. It was turnovers that killed the Bombers in the first game. It was turnovers that absolutely killed them in the second game. And it was turnovers that killed the Riders in the third game. So, I mean, that's where, for both sides, you just have to take care of the football. And let your defenses do the job, because both these teams have excellent defenses. The edge, I think, goes to the Bombers because they do have a better offense.
And are both teams 10-0 when winning the turnover battle. I mean, that doesn't scream that nothing does. But the weather, how about the weather?
We've been outside here at Investors Group Field this week, and it's very cold. The players are certainly learning about what it's going to be like in Regina on Sunday, where the temperature will be very similar, and it's going to play a factor no matter what.
If weather's a factor, and I don't believe any forecast 4 days in advance anymore, but if weather's a factor, cold, wind, snow, a combination of 2 of those 3, I think it favors Sask, because typically you hear about weather neutralizing an offense, the better offense, right? It's kind of dragged down in a tough game like that. Yes, Winnipeg has a running game with Andrew Harris, which you would think is ideally suited to cold weather, but Sask, I think, if all they worry about is stopping Andrew Harris, they can. They have proven they can do that in a game. In the 3 meetings they had this year, they let him run wild in one game, and they shut him down the next. So if a team becomes one-dimensional, they're in trouble. So I think we're dragging Winnipeg's offense down to Sask's level. Bad weather game, I think that could help the Riders.
Well, and that offense of the Bombers is going to have to go against 30,000 plus strong in Mosaic Stadium, the first ever playoff game there against a Prairie rival. You can't really ask for much more. It's almost too bad that one of these teams is going to have to get eliminated, because they're both very good, and this has been such an interesting CFL season. But again, it's time for the Bombers to shine. They've had their chances. They got to pull through one of these times.
It's the Labor Day Classic on steroids.
For Paul Friesen, I'm Ted Wyman at Investors Group Field.